WrestleTalk!
Has the Bloodline jumped the shark? We're going to find out. We're going to discuss as we review WWE Summerslam 2023, the 6th SummerSlam that the WrestleTalk podcast has reviewed.
Wow, what a stat.
Fun fact for you. And last night was our 5th annual SummerSlam live reaction stream.
Wow.
Fun facts, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm Luke Owen, D.A.D., and I'm joined by the former Jam That Champion, Pete Quinnell, after Dan Layton, the Professor Dan Layton, the Truth Dan Layton, shockingly jammed in his Jam in the Jar last night.
Yeah.
And correctly predicted that Roman Reigns would retain in the main event.
Yeah. So I'm coming to the realization that Jam in the Jar is nonsense. Because I believe, someone can fact check me, but I think I'm right. I've only lost the Jam That Championship by being jammed in on.
Mm-hmm.
No one has just beaten me in predictions for the belt. So sort it out.
You should probably get better at that whole defending it then.
Oh yeah, it's really easy to defend against the thing I can't defend against. It's great. Yeah.
You know, that's something for you to work on. Anyway, please do press the subscribe button. This is your first time here. Give us a little thumbs up as well, because it helps us in the old algorithm. If you're watching this at VOD, get in your comment down below with what you thought of this year's SummerSlam. And if you're watching live, get in your UltraChats to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them above the $5 amounts as we dive into SummerSlam 2023, which was main evented by Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in tribal combat for the undisputed Universal Championship. Tribal combat was a no DQ match. It was just a pretty standard hardcore match.
Yeah, which
you know, there was tables, there was plunder, there was kendo sticks, there was some chairs and stuff. Didn't really feel like this is You know how like the MMA rules match, this is an MMA rules match.
And went great.
Yeah. Yes, quite. We'll get to that. This was just like, I mean, this could have been called a Detroit street fight, and it would have had the same effects.
It could have. I think it still worked for me, just because I think that the tribal combat tagline was purely like, this means that the tribal chief thing is on the line, rather than being like, it's a hardcore match for the title, and then in like small text it's like, if Jey wins, he becomes the new tribal chief. Like, I think I can just call it tribal combat, and it encompasses everything.
Brackets, and also, this is also on the line.
Asterisk, yes.
And Roman Reigns retained that title in a match that I thought a lot of people were quite down on as a main event. It was your usual Roman Reigns stalling, walking around the ring, jaw-jacking with the audience. You do a move, 5 minutes later, you do another move. And in those 5 minutes of rest, you just have a little wander around the ring. You throw your arms up and you look at the crowd. You look at the guy and they go, pfft. You know, you do a lot of this, and then 30 minutes later, the match ends. Yeah. So I saw a lot of people were quite
perfect.
I saw a lot of people were down on it. I quite like the Roman Reigns match. I think like the last few that he's had, the Cody match was so great in that. The Sammy match was so great. The Owens match was very good. The two tag matches, the one against Owens and Zayn was awesome, and the one against the Usos was like just beyond perfect. I felt this was like on the lesser scale of good Roman Reigns matches in this tribal chief character, but it's not to say that it was a bad match. Like there was a lot of drama in there. I think it felt like this was a tired crowd after quite a long show.
It was a long show.
It was over 4 hours, this show, which is very unlike WWE.
Yeah.
It was past midnight in the building. Yeah. So I think it felt like it was a bit of a tired crowd, and a crowd that was just waiting for the solo run-in or what's the next twist in this tale. What did you make of it?
I enjoyed it. I think the match itself was good. Like you said, it's kind of like the Roman Reigns formula, but I quite enjoy that. It takes a while to get to where it's going, but when it gets there, it's great. And I enjoy, obviously, it's more about like the underlying drama and all that stuff. But I enjoyed like the callbacks they did. You know, like Jey Uso got like the leather strap out, which was used in their Hell in a Cell I Quit match and stuff like that. A Samoan drop from inside the ring, outside the ring through a table is a great spot. Even when Solo Sikoa started interfering, I was like, all right, here we go, next gear. That was still like exciting to me, and seeing that kind of interaction with Roman accidentally spearing Solo Sikoa, kind of forcing someone to be like, the hell, man, and kind of questioning Roman's allegiance in that, and then Jey taking advantage and spearing him through the barricade was another great spot. and then Jay getting revenge on Solo, doing the splash through the table that Solo did to Jimmy, like, was a really cool spot. I was really into all of it. I was really enjoying myself, and I was like, all right, here we go. The finish is coming soon. And Jay hit the spear onto Roman. We go, oh, wow. And then he hits a splash. You go, oh, wow, that's the match finish. And then it went 1, 2, and then it was sort of the match finish.
A mystery man pulled Jey Uso out of the ring. The Solo thing, like when Solo interfered, like they brawled through the crowd, and Solo came out and like he did a spinning Solo through the table and stuff. I think Solo's awesome. I don't think you could paint a picture of the spear is going to be like, oh, he's going to test Roman's allegiance, because it was quite clearly Jay pulled him in the way of it. I think Solo would have to be pretty thick to think that Roman did that on purpose. Which is why, like, he was still on Roman's side throughout. Like, you know, he was trying to do the spinning Solo through the announcer's table, which led to the splash and stuff. I mean, I thought that we really were setting up for that finish when Solo had the spike and Roman was going to hit that spear, that awesome tag team combo thing that they do. But instead, it was Jay on top, and Jay hit the spear through Roman through the barricade, hit another spear in the ring, hit him with the splash, and this mystery man pulled him out of the ring. And the mystery man was, as I predicted on our SummerSlam predictions video, was Jimmy Uso.
Sure was. Jimmy
Uso turning heel. This was not another Uso. This wasn't the fourth Uso.
No.
This was one of the original two. Jimmy turning heel on his brother and costing him the match, gave him a super kick back into the ring, and Roman hit the spear for the win, pinning Jey Uso 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It didn't... Roman's reaction, a spear through a table, no less, as well. A cool little finale, like a very cool... You know, head of the table.
Sure.
A spear through the table. It's nice and poetic. It didn't feel like this was Jimmy rejoining the Bloodline. Because Roman had this look on his face that he did not know that this was going to happen. I didn't quite catch a Paul Heyman reaction, so I don't know if, like, oh, this was, you know, part of Heyman's master plan.
Sure.
I think a lot of people like to have this idea that Heyman's got this master plan. Oh, Brock Lesnar's part of his master plan and stuff. But I think oftentimes he's just there.
Yes.
But it is just a good manipulator. But Jimmy, like, he didn't celebrate with Roman after the match. He didn't celebrate with Solo after the match. He did what he came to do, which was stopping his brother from winning the match and becoming the tribal chief. And he left. And Roman was just there to celebrate on his own. So I kind of read this as this was not Jimmy rejoining the Bloodline, which I think would have been a very silly chapter into this story.
Agreed. Yeah.
However, Jimmy just turning heel on his brother, the jealous brother, because why, you know, I mean, Jimmy's, why can't I be the tribal chief? Like, why can't I be the head of the table? Like, this is Jimmy's, you know, MO. It's just like, why is main event Jey Uso always going for the belt? This is your third crack at the title. Where's my shot at the title?
Well, you're assuming that's what Jimmy thinks.
That's it. I'm kind of jumping to I'm using my jump to conclusions, Matt, to jump to said conclusions. But if he's not joining the Bloodline or rejoining the Bloodline, that would be my assumption. It's a jealous brother thing.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give them a chance to justify this, because I said before that I think if Jimmy turns on Jey, we're going to jump the shark, and that's going to be too much. I think in my head, that angle playing out would be Jimmy rejoining the Bloodline. And if that did happen on the show, that would have been me going, what are you thinking?
That's done.
This is awful. Terrible storyline. Jimmy not rejoining the Bloodline and turning on Jey, I think there is a chance that there is something there. Like, maybe there's a story that I've overlooked, some pieces of evidence and clues and stuff that I've not seen in the storyline that when they bring it up, I go, well, actually, that was foreshadowed. Actually, that's quite clever. I didn't realize. I don't think that's there, but I'm going to give them the chance to tell me that story anyway. I say in my edited review on WrestleTalk that I'm going to give him a chance to give a Jimmy explanation promo about what's going on here. He better have a damn good reason for turning on Jey, because currently, I don't think this makes much sense at all. From everything that we've been told in the Bloodline, from its inception to now, everything about Jimmy has been trying to rescue Jey and stop him from overcoming Roman and all that stuff. To help him overcome Roman and all that stuff. Everything that we've been told about Jimmy and Jey is that their bond is one that can't be broken. That whole thing is like Roman's influence cannot break the brotherhood bond of Jimmy and Jey. And to subvert that is an interesting choice, but you do need to justify that. You can't just be like, but Roman won, and he did break it. It's like, right, but how? You need to like justify that big turn. Because even like from a macro standpoint, not even looking at like this storyline in particular, you have now just broken up one of the best tag teams of all time. It's a choice, I would say. It's certainly a choice.
It's actually something I hadn't even considered.
Yeah, like I think it would be disingenuous. Maybe you'd have to work really hard to put the Usos back together. Is what I'm saying after this. With the gravitas of you cost me being the tribal chief. Feels like a hard thing to like repair, you know, but probably they will probably. But even so, I still think that this story is now an uphill battle to justify itself, and I don't think it needed to be this hard.
Yeah, so I think the Bloodline had a uphill struggle after Mania as well, because Cody losing at Mania. We're not going to rebeat this drum over and over again.
Why not? I always want to.
But Cody losing at WrestleMania, there was this like, what does this mean for the Bloodline storyline? This doesn't feel like a direction that you need to be going in. But and a lot of people were like, I'm done with the story. This story is over. That was not helped by the fact that the following month Roman was not there. So it was just the Usos redoing their feud with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, but almost acting like they hadn't done the WrestleMania match. And it was a bad month for the Bloodline. But then Roman came back and it got great again. This is going to be a question of when's Roman coming back? Because if Roman's not a payback, if Roman's not, and currently Roman's not advertised for Survivor Series, like if Roman's not a payback, he's not at Survivor Series, like we're going to be, kind of Romanless. However, you can still do a Bloodline story without Roman because you can just focus it on Jimmy and Jay now.
Sure.
So this could actually be a very good way to keep this Bloodline story going and keep what is effectively, the most over act on SmackDown, one of the most important acts in the company. Keep it going, keep it fresh, keep it moving without Roman being on the show. You've now got another new antagonist that isn't just Solo and Heyman.
Yes, if the story's good.
That's the key to it.
I think,
so we can either go in two directions. We either go post-Backlash, or we're going in that month between WrestleMania and Backlash, where it was just the uphill battle, and they are trying to push this boulder up a hill and are struggling, but then Roman came in and just pushed it back up.
Yeah.
If we're going into a period now where they're going to start to struggle to push that boulder again, this could lose a lot of momentum.
Yeah. I think as well, like, on a bigger scale of the Bloodline story as a whole, the Bloodline Saga, like that, with a story like this, you have to have an endpoint. When that endpoint is of course fluid, but I think WWE should be aware that you can't delay the gratification of Roman losing everything forever. They've done a long title reign, and that's great, but when you build things up to be the expectation of the end of the story, and it's not multiple times, people will then go, am I really going to sit through another arc of this stuff?
When he beat Cody at Mania, and the report came out quite quickly, it's because they're going to do Roman Cody at Mania. We had so many people being like, I ain't waiting till Mania.
Yeah, no,
like I cannot do another year of Roman with this belt.
Yeah.
And we're now 6 months past that. Well, not 6 months yet.
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
And then getting on for 5 months past that. We're still like 6 months away from WrestleMania. It is like, can we do another?
It's 8 months to WrestleMania.
8 months. Can we do another 8 months of this? Because I was looking at the UltraChats from last night's show. This was, and you can certainly argue a lot of this is reactionary.
Yeah.
However, but just to kind of get a snapshot of this, dumb reasons for Jimmy turning. It's already been stated. This shouldn't have happened here. I'll have to see how they follow this on Friday, but they don't give a good explanation. I don't know. I'm 100% okay with Roman winning. However, Jamie was the one that broke Jay out the bloodline. This is the dumbest S. They could have had Jay lose without Jimmy. Sorry, lads. You're glad you could try and find the positives, but I'm done.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of a lot of the feeling from the live chat we had last night was, I'm done.
Yeah.
Jump the Shark was used multiple times in the live chat of being like, this storyline is just, it's a swerve. there are swerves, and brother, we've all been swerved.
Yeah.
Might be a step too far.
It's overstayed its welcome, I think, is kind of the vibe that I'm getting.
And going by what Heyman said in the post-show, the press conference, this is the bottom of the third as a baseball term. That's not towards the end of a baseball game, as far as I'm aware. No. And he was basically saying, like, oh, we're far from over on this storyline. Like, we are... He almost said, like, we're only just getting started.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you are 3 years into this storyline and you're just getting started.
Yeah, like, we barely hit our stride. It's like, that's not true. You have hit your stride. You've gone past your stride.
Yeah. So, like, Heyman's kind of reaction to this in the report from Fightful Select, which is, when will Roman drop the belt? And the answer was, it's when Heyman and Roman decide, like, when they decide they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Whenever they effing want to, that is when Roman will drop this belt.
Yeah.
So, we now might be looking at a picture where it's not just this storyline is going, but, like, Roman ain't dropping it at Mania next year either, like, to Cody. Like,
break Bruno's record. Why not?
Tempest joke today. Like, because, Paul Heyman said, oh, it's bottom of the third. Tempest's like, I worked a baseball game that had 19 innings.
Yeah.
Like, he is beating Bruno's record at this point.
Yeah. I don't want to watch that.
But, okay, so outside of taking away the I need to see Friday for the explanation.
The explanation, yeah.
In the moment when Jimmy attacked, did you think this has jumped the shark?
I thought, oh, I hate this. That was my initial gut reaction. I believe, sorry, Mod Mother Jenna, sorry, Vinny, for editing the podcast version. As soon as it happened, Jimmy pulled him out the ring, and I saw the mystery person standing there. I was like, I think that's Jimmy. And turned around and went, oh, for fuck's sake. And that was my initial gut reaction.
17 minutes, 23 seconds to note that down, Mod Mother.
Yeah, which it's not the reaction you want for a big moment like that. It's just not something I'm interested in seeing. And I believe I've seen online people have mentioned that Jay and Jimmy want this feud.
Like, they've wanted this feud for a while.
They've wanted this feud. I don't, personally. I'm not saying that my views are representative of the viewership as a whole. I personally have no interest in seeing Jay versus Jimmy. They could make it great. They could make it super interesting. And they could make it, not a Hardy Boys feud. They could make it a Hart Brothers feud, and it could be really cool. But right now, they need to do a lot of legwork to justify itself. To me, this reeks of, we need something. We need to justify Jay losing, and we need to justify the storyline going on, so we'll do something.
Yeah.
Jimmy will turn on Jay, and we'll figure it out later. And that's not the way to do it, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I don't know whether I would say that this has jumped the shark as of yet. So I'm trying to send a message.
We've got one.
Oh, we got one. Where is it?
It's there. Where are you? Huh.
I'll tell you what. I'll
mine's there.
I'll close. I'll finish my point while I try to find this.
Please do that.
I don't know if I thought this jumped the shark, only because I kind of thought that this was where we were going.
Yeah.
And I made my bold prediction on the prediction show that, I think Jimmy's going to turn. Jimmy's going to cost Jay. Because they've taken Jimmy out of the storyline and sent him to hospital, I was like, he's for sure returning at the pay-per-view. Yeah. And if he's going to return at the pay-per-view, Jay ain't winning.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to turn on Jay and cost Jay the match.
Yeah. And
they've wanted to do this brother versus brother thing for a while. Brother versus brother things often are terrible. The Hardy Boys, you mentioned that, a very good example of a bad version of this. But if you're doing like Jimmy versus Jay at Payback, there's some good stuff they could probably get out of that.
Probably.
And actually, looking further down the line, the reunion, when they come back onto the same page and you get that Usos reunion tag match, that will probably feel like a really big deal.
That's the thing. I feel like this story is now just moments. It's like, what a moment of Jimmy turning on Jay. What a moment if they have a match, and what a moment when they get back together. It's like, cool, but what is in between all those bits? That's the stuff that's actually going to maintain the foundation of the story, and I don't know if that foundation is actually there, or whether it is just superficial moments.
Let's, should
TBD.
We have a poll? Let's have a poll. Has the Bloodline jumped the shark? Yes or no?
Mm.
I'm just looking for a binary option here.
Yeah.
I know that there's a bigger thing at play. Let's wait until Friday. Let's see how it plays out. But in the immediately, I'm just curious as to kind of what the reaction is.
Yeah. What do you think right now?
Particularly because we've now had a chance to sleep on it.
Yes.
Whereas last night, if I'd have done this poll last night, it'd have been like 90%.
Yes.
90% jump the shark.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I'm curious now that we've slept on it, has this jump the shark? Can we sort of like be, maybe it hasn't. Maybe we can look towards something else. I'm just curious. I wanted to get a bit of a lay of the land. So let's see if we can get that poll up, and we'll get into it.
I'd be very curious.
As we get into your Ultra Chats on this one as well, WrestleTalk.com/support. Get them in. We'll read out all of them above the $5 amount. And as with all big bloodline things, people have a lot to say.
People have opinions.
Alamac says, the main event made me speechless. No ref bump in a Roman title match. Unbelievable.
There's no need. It was a no DQ match this time.
Oh. Also, if Damien cashed in the main event, would he become Senor Tribal Chief in the bank? Well, he would have just become Senor Tribal Chief, really, because he would have cashed in, right?
Was that...
If Damien,
is that... Would he enter himself into the tribal combat match, or would that get overwritten into, this is now just a regular triple threat if he cashed in? No idea.
I'm also just realised that Mod Mother's not actually doing the show today, so I need to do the poll.
Oh, you need to do the poll.
So can you read out the next Ultra Chat?
Absolutely, I can, yes. Sky Shadowrun said, people are saying we need to find the reason first about Jimmy's turn, but personally, I don't care about Jimmy's reasons. I think the Usos are awesome, but I don't really think either of them are interesting if you remove Roman and have the Jimmy Jay feud. I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think that Jay and Jimmy have shown a level of character depth through the Bloodline story, granted, but it wasn't necessarily Roman's bit that was always the most interesting bit about, like, the Usos. Like, the interactions with Jay and Sammy and Jimmy and Sammy and, like, Jay and Solo and people like that was also really interesting, and the interactions between those people was also an interesting part of the Bloodline. So I think there is something there without Roman, but whether they, like I said before, whether they have that foundation to build off, I don't know.
I think there's something in Sky's comment there, which is that the Usos... Actually, no, I take that back. I was about to say the Usos were bland pre-Bloodline, but they actually were pretty... They were bland pre-brand split.
Yes.
It was the 2016 brand split, or 2017 brand split, whichever one it was, is when they sort of really found their feet and became the Usos that we know now.
Down since day one-ish.
Exactly, yeah, like that era of the Usos.
Yeah,
so
and they were awesome.
They were, the feud with the New Day and stuff. So they have been an interesting tag team.
Yeah.
But they have been infinitely more interesting as a tag team since the Bloodline 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Jordan here says, I was told to wait and let it play out with Drew, with Sammy, with Cody, and now with Jay. Except no, I will not let this play out anymore. No one wants a Jimmy and Jay program. Also, again, Cody losing does not feel vindicated still.
Let's talk about Cody more. Still a bad choice.
I still agree that it was a bad choice.
Everything would have been so much better if he just won.
I know. And that is, I totally sympathize with Jordan's point here. This whole, like, let it play out is like, I was told that after Drew. I was told that after Kevin. I was told that after Sammy. I was told that after Cody. I was told that after the tag match. I was told that after. And it's like there's got to be a point when we look like we're nearing towards an endpoint. And I don't think we are nearing, and we're nowhere near any form of an endpoint with this story.
And when it feels like we are, we're not.
Yeah. Scott Young, genuinely think that's the worst finish they could have done. This let it play out card didn't work after Mania. Good story since, but it didn't justify Roman winning. Bright side, Jimmy vs. Jay will be class, but still a bad finish to a fine show.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one.
Chocobo Kid. I was actually just trying to catch Chocobos in playing Final Fantasy VII.
Having a great time, weren't you?
I hate Chocobos.
Yeah.
Like, since 1997 playing that game, I hate Chocobos. Little yellow pricks just like stick around. So let me jump on your back and ride you for a bit, will you? Tell you sex tape. Chocobo Kid. At the end of the tribal combat, the last interference, I yelled out, "It's the fourth Uso!" Sammy Boy says, I don't understand why fans react the way WWE want if they don't like something. Instead of F Jimmy, just chant F this booking or F the WWE. That way you would hurt them. You're just feeding them now. Also, where is the logic? Jay coming in solo makes him the dumbest wrestler in kayfabe for 3 years. He knows Roman doesn't want to do things alone. Sammy should have been there. At this point, Jay should ask for a transfer to Raw. Why want to be part of a family when the elders condone the Chief's actions and the brothers' turns?
There's a lot of points in there.
There is. First off, why do fans react that way? Because they were buying into the story.
Yeah.
Like that, you can look at this live crowd. This live crowd did not boo the booking of this.
No, they didn't.
They booed the character of Jimmy Uso. So in that sense, it absolutely worked.
Yeah, for the live crowd in attendance, I think this worked.
Absolutely. So Jay coming in makes him the dumbest wrestler in kayfabe. 3 years, and he knows that Roman doesn't do things alone. I don't need Sammy there. Like, Sammy's arc within this story is done.
If this was the actual end of the story, if Jay was winning, I think it would have been really cool to have Drew, Sammy, KO, a bunch of like Roman's demons that he put to bed. They all come out to help Jay. I think that would have been a really neat moment. Not if it's not the end of the story.
Yeah. And there's an interesting point of just like, why do you want to be part of this family when the elders condone? That's an interesting point, though.
Yeah, I think that's part of the character dynamic, though. Like, the whole point is that this is kind of like a toxic relationship, and there's an influence that Roman has over Jay, inherently.
Jake WTW, like many, I wasn't a fan of the main event finish. I had my initial reaction and feel much the same about it now. The finish itself was just much of the same formula that we've seen in Roman matches, and that formula is just starting to get stale for me. On the turn itself, to me, it doesn't make much sense. Jimmy was the one that pulled Jay away from Roman, breaking away from the manipulation of Roman and Paul, only to be manipulated by them. Jimmy got hurt because of Jay, and then turning on Jay. For me, it's starting to feel a little bit like the NWO. It's a hot story that they keep extending well past its natural expiration date, but I guess Triple H said, stories don't end in WWE.
Yes, they do.
They planted seeds. They haven't planted any seeds of Jimmy being jealous of Jay, and it just feels like they needed a swerve for the sake of a swerve. Maybe they have some grand plan on where they're going next, but it's just kind of getting tiring.
I think that is the general vibe for me, is that for a lot of the Bloodline story, you can roughly see where it's going, or you have clues as to where the story's going. This, I feel like, didn't do that. This wasn't effectively foreshadowed. And if it was foreshadowed, it wasn't foreshadowed effectively because people are surprised by this outcome. It wasn't like, oh, this could maybe happen.
I think another tiring aspect of this that I'm kind of getting from the UltraChats and, the live chats that we had last night as well, the Roman template match is grinding people down.
Sure, yeah. I get that.
And I totally get that as well, because if looking at it's 8 months until WrestleMania, you're looking at that being like, oof, that's a long time. It's an even longer time with those Roman Reigns matches that are borderline the same every single time.
Yeah.
Great though they may be, they can only be great for a certain amount of time. Jared here said, I want to give the story a chance, but last night's match wasn't great to me. It never hit the epic third act that Roman matches normally do. I'm afraid we're reaching a point where the tribal chief feels like the big dog under a new name.
That's interesting.
That's so interesting. That's
point.
A great way to phrase that.
Yeah.
Moose said, in the build-up to Money in the Bank, Roman and Heyman pointed out that Jimmy never wanted Jay to be the tribal chief or the right-hand man. Also, as much as Jay says he's doing this for Jimmy, how does winning a singles title help him?
Okay. Jimmy never wanted Jay to be the tribal chief or the right-hand man. Sure, he didn't want him to be in the bloodline. He didn't want him to be under Roman's influence, and he helped him escape from that. The bloodline then beat up Jimmy a lot, and Jay was fighting on his behalf. He was removing the title of tribal chief from Roman so that his influence could not be felt on others. He was protecting Jimmy and more by becoming a benevolent tribal chief, if you will. I think that was the point. It's not really about the singles title at this point, which is why Cody should have won at WrestleMania. We keep coming back to this, man.
Bailey, what if Jimmy did what he did to Jay to save Jay because he fears Jay will turn out like Roman?
Yeah.
Jimmy has seen what the world title does to Roman and doesn't want Jay to go down that same dark path.
That, I think, is a really interesting point. That's one that I wanted to bring up earlier, but I forgot to. That, I think, is an interesting idea. I'd be curious to see if that is the reason, how they'd present that and present that argument to be like, I did this to save you. Because I think if they were going to do that, then I think Jimmy should have been a bit more conflicted when he did it, because he was like angry. He looked like jealous brother. He's like, no, I want to hurt you.
I want to win the title.
I want to inflict pain upon you, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I'm sorry, I love you. I have to do this for your own good. Yeah. That was not the vibe from that attack at all. So if they wanted to tell that story, I think they'd have changed it from what their original plan was, because I don't think that came across in this angle.
Kid Cutty here saying, this is why people don't take the IWC and Negative Talk, I believe that's you and I, complaints seriously. It's just the same people crying about their fantasy booking and not working out. Same thing happened when Drew lost, when Sheamus and Cody and Sammy, and now Jay just let it play out. I'm not going to try and jump to my own defense, because I think that comes across as like, I don't know what the wording for that is, but I'm not going to be like, no, this is why you're wrong, Kid Cuddy. 2 points on this. I literally predicted this was going to happen, so it's not my fancy booking didn't play out. Number 2, we've never said that this is bad, so I don't know how you can say Negative Talk, not said it's bad. Number 3, I just want you to double check what the I stands for in IWC and what you used to send this message. I hate that term so much.
Yeah.
It made so much sense in the late 90s and the early 2000s. It doesn't make sense anymore.
Yep.
Deadpool Chew, Jimmy's screwing Jay. Also, I think if people are upset at this, they're quite entitled to be upset by this. And I think people are entitled to think that this has jumped the shark somewhere. Look, I'm looking at the poll here, and a lot of people seem to think this has jumped the shark. Deadpool Chew says, Jimmy screwing Jay at this point is stupid. Jimmy's turn at Night of Champions of Roman injuring him. If they're going to do the jealousy angle, Jimmy should have accidentally cost Jay last night. Then do a triple threat or a fatal four-way at Payback and have Jimmy turn heel there. Have Jay win, give him a short title run where Jimmy gets progressively jealous, and eventually cost Jay to have Roman win the title back at the Royal Rumble. Then you can build to Jimmy versus Jay at WrestleMania 40.
I get that, yeah. I think there was, like we've been saying before, there's just more legwork that needed to be done for this angle to justify itself. But
Notorious said, hey guys, first time Ultra Chatter here. I'm usually good, so just go with the flow, but I'm so pissed at this development. It doesn't make a lick of sense and is so dumb, but I'm not willing to let it play out. F this. Sorry, it's my first ever chat is a complaint.
You're all good.
You're not absolutely all good. It's also not a complaint. It's your feelings and thoughts. Gracia says, hey y'all, I just don't care about the bloodline anymore. Every justification I can think of for Jimmy turning on Jay is always followed up in my mind by, it would have been better with the title though. Thoughts? I find this so fascinating as well. This whole like I don't care about the bloodline anymore and every justification and this that and the other and this whole let it play out. I'm getting just so many flashbacks to the night after WrestleMania night 2 when we were reading out UltraChats, and this is what the feeling was. But they did turn this around, and I think that they got Roman and Heyman's creative booking turned people around on the Cody loss at Mania to the point where now people are like, actually, it was totally the right call for Cody's lose at Mania.
Was it, Luke?
Well, I was saying, Peter, there are people that do make that argument, and I think that there is an argument to be made for it.
Those people are wrong.
We could be looking in 2 months' time and having people like, do you know what? Jimmy turning on Jay at SummerSlam was completely the right call, and it was the right decision.
Yes. I think this is why I'm not completely like overtly like this is the worst choice they could have made. What are they thinking? Blah blah blah. Because I think they've done really well post Mania. I still think Cody winning would have been better, but they have done well post Mania, and the story has still been interesting and good. So I'm curious to see what they do from here. I think we might get to a point where we say like Jimmy still probably shouldn't have turned, but what they've done with it since has been alright.
Talkie Toaster, the jealousy story doesn't make sense to me. If Jimmy let Jay win and then turned on Jay on SmackDown Raw, he'd have gotten a title match out of it most likely, so the only other logical explanation is Jimmy's going back to Roman, which is a backwards step. If he goes back to the bloodline, I feel that is a backwards step.
That is bad.
And I'm also not on the boat of taking the title off Roman to give someone a short reign just to put the title belt back on Roman, because I feel like that accomplishes nothing.
I agree.
Not actually, Tesco has been a member for 6 months in a row, says, not the worst show, all things considered. Very happy that LA Knight and Io Sky got their wins, but I think this is me bowing out of the Bloodline Saga.
Valid.
Matt here. Here are my thoughts on the Bloodline angle, and this is just my opinion. Did the Bloodline jump the shark with Jimmy's heel turn? Short answer is no. Long answer, once they do it the right way. I'm having to elaborate. Right now in WWE, the three most over babyfaces are Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso. The issue with Jimmy is that really for the last year, he's always felt like the least important character in the storyline. During the Sami, KO, and Bloodline storyline of 7 people involved in the storyline, Jimmy felt with the audience. Jimmy doesn't have the same connection that Jey does. The turn works because it's not Jimmy rejoining the bloodline. Roman and Paul both look shocked and confused when the turn happened, and it works because of Jimmy's jealousy towards Jey, the least important. Even during the bloodline civil war, I'd argue he was the 5th most important character.
They've come out of order, sorry. So it should go 1, 2, 4, 3.
Okay, so during the Sami, KO, and Bloodline storyline of the 7 people involved in the storyline, Jimmy felt, the least important. Even during Civil War, I'd argue he was the 5th most important character. The Bloodline has done a good job of making Jey Uso feel like a legit main eventer and has made him stand out and create his own connection with the audience. Jimmy doesn't have that same connection that Jey does. The turn works because it's not Jimmy rejoining the Bloodline. Roman and Paul both look shocked and confused when the turn happened. It works because of Jimmy's jealousy towards Jey.
I just don't get the jealousy vibes. At all. Like, you could see it in this angle, but it's just not been there at all before. I think people can retroactively make the argument and be like, well, if Jimmy was feeling this way, then it makes sense, but that feeling hasn't been effectively portrayed.
Cobb, I feel like the Bloodline is at a point where it's being Icarus. They've had so many chances to end it, and now it's burning them. We're all really glad that you're our friend, and this is the story that... we're very glad that you're our friend, and this is a story that will never, ever end.
He knew.
Kings of STL21. Hey, guys. I just want to say that the Jimmy turn was very predictable, but made no sense. Heyman in the conference said that this storyline was coming into the 3rd inning. For a storyline that has lasted for 3 years, is it finally starting to overstay its welcome?
I think there will be some people who would be like, no, it's fine. There'll be some people who'd be like, yeah, I think it is starting to overstay its welcome. And then there'll be some people who are like, God, it overstayed its welcome years ago.
Yeah.
There's going to be such a spectrum on this.
Homestar fan, Jimmy turning on Jey makes no sense. It felt Vince Russo level, a swerve for the sake of a swerve. Who is Roman going to face until Mania? Even if there are people really interested in seeing Cody win the belt, I think this feud has finally run its course. Honestly, I think if Roman is defending this belt again, it is only against Bloodline members until this year is out.
An LA night, why not?
Matt said, a lot of people say Jimmy stood up to Roman for Jey, but when you think about it, he didn't stand up to Roman only when Roman started to give him some physical and verbal abuse that Jey got. Prior to that, for the 3 years, Jey got that type of abuse, and the only person that stood up for him in that period of time was Sami. When you think about it logically, it was only after the Usos lost the tag titles at Mania when Jimmy started to get the same type of abuse from Roman, and only then was when he... Oh, and it ends there.
And it ends there.
And we have a missing username. Please do let our moderators know. Who said, if it's tribal combat, it should have just been Roman and Jey. Then you could have had the turn after the match, which they shouldn't have done. Also, as much as I love LA Knight, the Battle Royal should have been on the pre-show.
Big agree.
I'd have a big agree for that.
I'd also say, just on the last one, by the way, sorry, just very quickly. Jimmy standing up to Roman for Jey did happen when Jimmy first came back into the Bloodline story. Like, Jimmy came back and he was like, the hell's going on here? What'd I miss? Like... what's going on with you, Jey? And tried to talk Jey out of being in the Bloodline. Then he himself got converted into it, but he did stand up to Jey prior. That's the thing that happened.
And lastly on this one for now, Danny G said, afternoon, lads. My initial thought was that they've jumped the shark, but I've thought that before, so we'll see how it plays out. Not too bothered either way, to be honest. I haven't watched weekly WWE TV for ages, so as long as the pay-per-view stay decent, I'm all right.
That's so fair.
That is a fair point there, Danny. So let's end this poll now. You've had enough time to get your votes in on it. We've had nearly 1,000 people vote on this. And it's like 2/3.
Yeah.
71% saying yes, it's jumped the shark. 29% saying no. So yeah, 2/3 of the audience here think that this storyline has reached its point. I will be curious if we would do that poll again in 2 months' time.
Yeah.
And see what the reaction to it there was.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the rest of SummerSlam because there are other things that did happen on this show.
Was there? Crazy.
We opened with Kid Rock doing the video package. This wasn't the Kid Rock performance that some people thought it was going to be. It was just Kid Rock being like, hi, I'm Kid Rock, and I'm from Detroit, and here is SummerSlam in Detroit.
I thought this video package was really weird, because he was like, to see where you're going, you've got to see where you've been. Look at SummerSlam 88, and I was like, okay, like a history of SummerSlam, that's quite cool, and this is the first one, and he's like, yeah, SummerSlam 88, look at all these stars are on there. Look at SummerSlam 95, there were some stars there. SummerSlam 2013.
Yeah, like, let's not look at 95.
Yeah,
like, that's a bad one.
And they went SummerSlam 88, SummerSlam 95, SummerSlam 2013, And here we are now. It's like, I'm sure there's some others in there.
Well, I'm guessing that those other two were in Detroit.
Probably, yeah.
Because, like, 95 would have been Diesel and Mabel.
Yeah,
so that would
yeah,
make
yeah.
sense that that's in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the other one was probably in Detroit.
Probably. It just was very funny because I don't think they explained that very well in the video package. It was like, look at these ears!
Because I don't think 88 was in Detroit, so it's, like, hard to be like, this is where it started, and then we moved to a different city. Because I always think, like, oh, man, they'll show Wembley.
Yeah.
And then they didn't.
No, of course
not. But yeah, this was the Kid Rock appearance of the night, so it was not quite as bad as some people had feared that it might be.
No,
particularly when they cut Becky and Trish, and they were like, "What? You're keeping the Kid Rock concept?"
Yeah.
Didn't even get that. Our opening contest, however, was Logan Paul versus Ricochet in the Viral Moments match, and the commentators were trying hard. So, I think that Logan Paul's very good at this.
He sure is.
He is. It's actually incredible how good he is. And I feel like that's a bit of a broken record thing to say. But gosh darn, is he good at doing this.
Really good.
Annoyingly so good at doing this. I said during the Crown Jewel, whichever one when he had the title match against Roman.
Against Roman, yeah.
The most impressive thing for me about Logan Paul is he doesn't feel like a celebrity doing a wrestling match. He just feels like one of the wrestlers doing a wrestling match. And that's incredible. With that said, this felt overly rehearsed.
Yes.
And there were moments where you could see them sort of just moving forward to get to the next spot, but the other person's not quite ready. And because they were trying so hard to make this the viral match, I don't think this ever really landed in the big spectacular way that other Logan Paul matches have done. You know, you look at that Logan Paul match he had with Seth Rollins. Like, that was full of, like, huge, awesome moments that you're like, oh, you can see why they brought this guy in. The viral sensation. What a social media megastar. I don't feel we had that moment in this match.
No.
This match was what Jim Cornette thinks every Young Bucks match is. Because it was just spots.
Yeah.
They just did spots, and then Logan Paul hit Ricochet with the brass knucks and pinned him. And it was just that. And that's great because that's all it was ever supposed to be.
Yeah.
But for me, I actually felt this was like the lower end of Logan Paul matches in WWE.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I enjoyed this match. It started off a bit slower than I thought it would for a match like this. I thought it would be like, let's get to the point, you know, let's get the viral moments. But I thought it picked up towards the end. I quite enjoyed some of the near falls and the action. I don't know how Logan Paul hit a buckshot lariat from inside the ring to out.
Yeah, to the floor.
That seems illegal. How would you do that? But he did it. It's crazy. Yeah, I thought this was good. It, like you said, it never reached that, oh my god, social media moment that they were desperate to get.
Yeah.
But it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes then took on Brock Lesnar in their non-stipulation match. I thought it was an interesting report. You know, everyone's been sort of banging on about this idea that there's going to be a big stipulation around the third match. And apparently WWE were like, this don't need to stip. Which I think is mad because it needed something. Because we haven't been given any like storyline justification as to why we're in this third point. And the video package was just hilarious in how unmoving this story has been since night one of it.
It was so long. The video package was so long.
Try seeing it 4 times.
Yeah.
Because I saw it on Raw.
Yeah.
They played it on SmackDown. They played it on the pre-show. And they played it again here. That slow... Dan described it as oddly romantic.
Yeah.
Video package. And it was long, as has this feud been.
Yeah.
I liked this.
So did I.
A great deal, actually. Because this was the first match they've had that was really built around, like, story and... I'm not going to say story, but emotion.
Yeah.
It's
story.
Brock didn't want to hurt Cody.
Yeah.
He really respected him as this sort of athlete and stuff.
But
he's like, you're the biggest paycheck I can get. So let me have this match and just let me win. And then I don't have to hurt you and we can go our separate ways. So what he would do is he would hit Cody with a move, throw him to the outside, and tell the ref to count. And if Cody got back onto the apron, he would just knock him off the apron and get the referee to start the count again. Cody got back up, he went to the outside, hit him with an F5 outside the ring, got back in, got the referee. It's basically like a last man standing match at one point. And it just kept going and going. And Cody, because he is 80s wrestler. He's white meat babyface. He's blue-eyed babyface. He is John Cena in 2023. He never gave up. He always believed, and he got in the ring. He made his comeback, and they had a fun little sequence at the end. You know, Brock locking in the Kimura. I really enjoyed Cody locking in the Kimura. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
I also thought it was very interesting as well that, like, when Brock had the Kimura on, Cody had to struggle to get to the ropes. When Cody had the Kimura on, Brock was like, no.
Just picked him up with one arm. No.
Yeah, just lifted him up and was like, nope, get off me.
Yeah.
But it ended with several crossroads, and Cody picked up the win.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed the match?
Yeah, very much so. I think that without a stipulation here, I think they built the psychology around, like, singles rules really well. Like, the count out steps and stuff like that was, like, it really built into the psychology of the match really well. And it's weird that you call him John Cena because he's John Cena, but he works.
Isn't that the most interesting thing about him?
It's just he is that severe underdog, never give up, never say die guy. But we all go like, yeah, hell yeah, Cody, which is just something about him. He's got that connection.
I think if John Cena, I think it's more of a different era of time that we're in. If John Cena was doing the John Cena thing that he was doing in the mid-2000s now, he would be a beloved babyface.
Maybe.
But he was doing it in a post-Attitude Era world where people didn't want Hulk Hogan. They wanted cool and edgy characters, and he was the polar opposite of a cool and edgy character.
I think there is also a level of vulnerability to Cody as well. I think he's a better seller than Cena is.
He's a much better wrestler than John Cena.
Much better wrestler than Cena, and I think that allows people to invest in him emotionally a lot more. And there's a level of vulnerability to him. Like, he only just beat Lesnar, and then he lost to Lesnar, and I don't think we'd have seen that from Cena. I think Cena would have just won, like 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, what he did, he just beat Brock when Brock made his comeback match. I liked the finish. I said to Dan on the show that I'm not saying that my version of this is better, but I was like, I think a Kimura finish would have actually been really rad for this because all 3 matches have ended with the Kimura.
Yeah.
The first match was Cody reversing the Kimura into a pinfall. Second was him passing out to the Kimura. Ending it with, like, if Cody had locked in the Kimura and Brock had tapped out, that would have been like, oh, what a lovely, like, bit of poetic symmetry across the 3 matches. Yeah. It's not to say that the finish they did was bad, but I very much enjoyed this. And I love Cody, man. Like, Cody's
great.
He just works with this character.
Yeah.
And this is what you have Cody do. This is what you bring Cody in to do. And Cody's very good at doing this. Like, he's very good at doing that NWA, never give up, white meat babyface guy. And after the match, Brock Lesnar took off his gloves and stood in the ring, shook his hand, pulled him in, gave him a big embrace, raised his hand, and put Cody over like $1 million. Which
apparently, reportedly, was not planned. That was just something Lesnar did.
According to Triple H in the press conference, he just went off script and just did that. I don't know how much of that I believe, because if that is true, that means that in the last month, Brock is just doing whatever he wants, and Roman did a segment where he went 20 minutes over time. That would suggest to me you have not got a lot of control over some of your top guys here.
Yeah.
So I don't think I fully believe Triple H, who is a master BSer. Like, he is like a king of spinning bollocks.
Yeah.
So I don't think I fully believe that this was an off the script moment.
Yeah. And also, if stories never end, then why did this story end, Triple H? Seems like a pretty definitive conclusion to me. The video package said the saga ends, and then it ended with a handshake.
What do you think you do with Cody next? Because he can't go for the title. He doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He's made it abundantly clear he does not want to go for that title. So
win the US belt or something. I don't know.
No, but that's on a different show. You'd have to beat Gunther. You could do Cody Gunther.
But have Gunther win.
But you're kind of setting up Gunther and Chad Gable going by last week's Raw.
Yeah. So
yeah, I guess you could do Cody in Judgment Day. He kind of sort of did that when he was feuding with Dom. But I'm trying to think of who are the other top heels that he could feud with on Raw. Because it's Judgment Day, really.
Wow, I literally can't think of anybody.
It's Judgment Day, it's Imperium. Those are your kind of top heels.
Yeah.
And then below that, it's The Miz. And so, you could do Cody Miz if you wanted to.
Reed.
He's tied up with Ciampa and Nakamura currently. So yeah, like it's for the first time since, well, actually since the start of this Brock feud. No, I take that back. No, I'm sticking with it. It's the first time since the start of this Brock feud that I'm looking forward to a Cody Rhodes appearance on Raw because I want to know what he's going to do next.
Yeah,
because kind of since the Brock thing, anytime they've announced a Cody Rhodes appearance, I've had this like, well, this is not actually going to further a storyline. This isn't actually going to go anywhere. And if Brock's here, they're just going to brawl, and I've already seen this.
Yes.
This is the first time that on Raw, if they're like, we'll hear from Cody Rhodes, I'll be like, I'm genuinely curious to see this segment because I want to see what Cody's doing next.
Yeah.
We then had the Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royal for all the dollary dudes. This was a sponsor-heavy show because you had the Slim Jim sponsorship thing here. One of the matches later on was a sponsored... Oh, it was the Gunther Drew McIntyre match was sponsored by some mortgage company.
Yep.
And like the LED boards had like all the sponsorship stuff. And then the women's triple threat was sponsored by the energy drink. So you had Bianca Belair drink the energy drink on the way down, which I do not care for.
Ugh.
And then a moving graphic going around like over. And at every... Like, you couldn't go 5 minutes without being like, buy a thing, buy a thing, buy a thing, buy a thing. This is a Nick Khan, you know, this is what he's doing with WWE, and I don't begrudge him for it. But this was your big sponsorship thing. So the biggest of the sponsorship things, I'd say.
Yeah.
And this is why Becky and Trish were not on the show, because the Slim Jim sponsorship is more important, and LA Knight is part of the Slim Jim commercials.
Yep.
He's the new Macho Man Randy Savage here. So you had to give him a match, you had to give him a win, and the crowd really like LA Knight, and it was every Battle Royal you've ever seen.
I think that's unfair.
I'll finish my point. It is every Battle Royal you've ever seen. Rubbish until the final 4 people, and then it's really good.
I thought it was all right. I enjoyed some of the stories going through this. You know, like it's nothing crazy, but I enjoyed seeing like the Shinsuke Ciampa Reed stuff playing out in the thing. I like seeing Chad Gable kind of go nuts and hit some suplexes and stay in for way longer than he should. It was awesome. And, you know, getting an elimination and then just going, "And thank you!" and all the crowd doing it along with him. Like, that was really cool. I was watching this. I told Luke this earlier. I was watching SummerSlam last night with my partner, who doesn't watch wrestling. And legitimately, when Omos came out, after the match had begun, an MVP came out and he said, "Here's the winner. It's Omos, everybody." And Omos came out. My partner legitimately went, "Well, how's anyone going to eliminate him? He's so tall."
I've always enjoyed the partners that don't watch wrestling or watching wrestling with non-wrestling fans, because I remember watching WrestleMania 30, watching that with my now wife, and at the start of the Brock Lesnar Undertaker match, she was like, "Undertaker ain't winning." And we were like, "Oh, babe, you don't know. You don't know." And she was like, she literally was like, "He's so old, and that guy's massive. Yeah, he can't win this match." Yeah, and she was right. Yeah, she saw that coming. Yeah, but yeah, there was parts of this that kind of, I don't know, it's going to frustrate me. Otis just being eliminated early kind of like frustrated me a little bit. But it's a battle royal, like it doesn't really matter. Like JD McDonough is a nothing guy and just got eliminated. Yeah, there was I thought the fun bit of Grayson Waller and The Miz basically doing the Spider-Man meme of just like, we're the same character. Let's be a tag team now. Which is a weird meta commentary of WWE, but yeah, it was good. Corey even said it on commentary where he was like, "That's basically the Spider-Man meme." Yeah, I was like, "Oh my god, we're the same. We're bad creative." But it came down to the final 4, and LA Knight won. Yeah, and the right guy won. The right guy won. It's nice that Knight got on the card. It's nice he got a win. I don't know what the point of this was, other than to get Slim Jim sponsorship money. That's the point. That's it. And because LA Knight gets nothing out of this. But you could still have this. Just put some stakes on the Battle Royal. Give him something for winning. Don't care what it is. Make it a truck of Slim Jims. I don't care. Because not that. Austin Theory was in this Battle Royal. Sure was. The United States champion was just in this and just got eliminated like a chump. Well, yeah, Santos eliminated him, which again was good because Santos is the number 1 contender. And then Santos just got eliminated because he's also a chump. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't love this, but I get why it was on the card. I thought it's more fun than I thought it was going to be. Less so for our next match. Shortest match apart from obviously the EO cash-in. Yeah. Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey in an MMA rules match that apparently only went 7 minutes, but I can believe it. I argue this went way longer. This felt like it went an eternity. Yeah. It was worked MMA. The rules were you can only win by submission or knockout. They did some MMA stuff. The crowd didn't boo this. There were pockets. There were trying to, but this was not like an arena booing this match. What this was an arena not reacting to this match.
Crowd were bored,
which I think is actually worse. This crowd did not hate this enough to boo it. They just didn't care, and they just watched this for 7 minutes, and it ended. And some of them probably got up their seats and went to the loo.
Yep.
Probably went to the loo halfway through the match, went to the concession stand. This should have just been a fight pit.
Yes. Okay. Here's the positives that I like from this. Shayna Baszler was taken seriously as a serious threat. That's good. And I think this was the best worked MMA style match in WWE history. That bar is like...
It's super low.
But... still the best one that they've done, and it still should not have existed.
You take a little step over that, you have gone over that bar.
You have gone over.
You set a new standard.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it just doesn't work. This thing just doesn't work. Worked MMA in WWE doesn't work. It's silly.
I think worked MMA brackets general doesn't work.
Yes.
But I also look at this from two standpoints. Number one, it doesn't look very good. But also B, I'm not an MMA fan.
Yeah.
So I don't want to watch my wrestling pay-per-view and have fake MMA in it.
Yeah.
But then there were people in the live chat last night that were just like, well, I'm an MMA fan and this still is bad.
Yeah.
So it's not working for them and it's not working for me.
Yeah.
And I was...
Who's this for?
I was as... for Shayna and Ronda.
Yeah.
I was as bored in this match as the crowd were.
Yes. Agreed.
Gunther took on Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. They beat the piss out of each other.
Sure did.
And this was not on the same level as the Sheamus match at Clash of the Castle or the triple threat that they had at WrestleMania. But it was still done good because Gunther's perfect.
Yeah.
And Drew's just like perfect.
Yeah.
So this was excellent for what it needed to be. I felt like there was another gear they could have gotten into. This was not the 5-star match they can have. This was a 4-star match. Still very, very good.
I'd even say 4.5. I thought this was great.
I think this was still very, very good, but there was an extra level that I think they were just missing. It felt like, let's hold back because we're going to do another one of these. And I don't begrudge wrestlers for doing that, by the way. I actually think that's a very smart thing to do.
I didn't necessarily get that vibe. I just thought this was a really great match, and while it wasn't as good as the match of the year contenders, I thought this was still awesome, and I got a really big kick out of it. I thought it was great.
The finish was awesome.
I can't criticize this as being a bad thing because it wasn't as good as like the 5-star classics.
Well, I'm not criticizing for that, and I don't think it is as good as the other ones, but it's still a great match.
Yeah,
and the finish was so awesome.
So good.
Because this finish was up on the top rope and Gunther just powered Drew down. So he crotched himself on the top rope. Immediately hit the splash.
Yeah.
Immediately picked him up and hit a lariat. Immediately picked him up and powerbomb him into the earth for the win. It was so awesome. And it's just like, oh, this is why Gunther's perfect. This is why he is just the perfect wrestler, the perfect champion. And probably never take the belt off of him.
Yeah.
Give him the 1,000-day reign.
Yeah.
Because Gunther matches don't have the Roman template where we're kind of bored of the 1,000-day thing. No, Gunther's just perfect at this.
Because Gunther wins in so many diverse ways because he's a perfect wrestler.
So great. Yeah. I had a great time with this. I thought it was a very, very good match. I don't think it was my match of the night.
It wasn't my match of the night.
I'm trying to think what my match of the night was, actually.
I know what my match of the night was.
I do know what my match was. It was actually our next match.
It's the next match, yeah.
Which was Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. This is what I was saying a moment ago about how it felt that Drew and Gunther were holding something back because they knew they were going to do a return match. That's the same thing I thought with the Seth and Finn match at Money in the Bank. This was not the great match that these two can have because they know they're going to do they're going to do another match at the next pay-per-view. So we'll just hold 20% back and then we can put that 20% in at the next match. And they did that here. And this match was awesome.
This was great.
This was a great, great match. Both guys worked so well with each other. They played off a lot of their history. Finn got to do the buckle bomb spot to Rollins on the outside, the same barricade that he went into all those years ago. Really, really high intensity drama. And that only escalated when Damian Priest came out. Because Damian Priest comes out, he's got his briefcase, and there's this awesome, awesome moment. I loved this so much. Damian Priest gets on the apron to hand Balor the briefcase to say, use this as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Balor thinks that Priest is trying to cash in and is annoyed and angry. And so Priest, they've been like, I'm trying to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But Balor's got into his head that Priest is trying to screw him over. So he just starts yelling at him, don't do this. Stop trying to take this away from me. Leads to confusion. Rhea and Dom were also at ringside as well to cause some distractions. And it just like escalated from there.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they did get on the same page. And it led to an incredible near fall.
Mm-hmm.
Where Balor hit the shotgun dropkick and the coup de grace, and Rollins kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
I totally thought this was the finish.
Yeah, I mean, there was also a stomp from Rollins as well, which Balor kicked out of, and I was like, wait, what?
Again, like that was another one as well, because that came off the back of missed time communication with Balor and Priest, and the crowd were like, there's the finish.
There's the finish.
So when Balor kicked out, place came unglued.
Yeah.
This was rad.
Awesome near falls in this one. And then it got to a point where Balor was like, right, we can't put Rollins away. I get what you're trying to do, Priest. Give me the briefcase. Come on, give me. And Priest was like, I don't know, man. Like you were yelling at me earlier. Hold on.
I thought it was like when we were watching it, we thought it was Finn was then telling Priest, you should now cash in. Make this a triple threat. We'll beat him together. As a way for us to get the gold into the bloodline, into the Judgment Day.
I didn't get that, but that was cool. If that's what they were going for.
But then it just became a distraction piece because the referee got distracted by Damian Priest.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins stomped Finn's head into the briefcase and pinned him.
Yeah.
Awesome finish.
Because Priest slid the briefcase into the ring, and the way that, for me, the way I read it anyway, because Balor then scrambled to go get the briefcase, he knew that he was trying to use it as a weapon. Like that, I thought that was like the agreement. So Priest like took his time though, slid the briefcase into the ring, was like, all right, let me go distract the ref, and walked around the ring to go distract him. Distracting the ref, Rollins then stomped Balor onto the briefcase and got the win.
An interesting point that's just been brought up there was like, you should rewatch it. Priest set Balor up. Because of the way that he put the briefcase in was setting him up so that Rollins could stomp Finn into the briefcase and ensure that Finn lost. I don't know. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But Damian Priest...
It's that, like, did he do it intentionally? Did he not? And that's it.
It's the Paul Heyman throwing the title between Brock and Roman.
Yeah.
It is... I mean, because Priest's face at the end of this match was... I'm so done with this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so done with this infighting. I'm so done with this drama. Like, it was a great sell by Damian Priest and Balor's frustration. And, like, it was a proper, like, disparate Judgment Day. Balor's on one side. Mammy and Dom aren't with Priest either. It's just Priest on his own, Balor's on one side, and these two over here are doing their own thing.
Yeah.
This... WWE are apparently very high on Judgment Day, and like that's why JD McDonough's not been part of the group, because they feel like this foursome works, and that's our big act that isn't the Bloodline. I don't think they're going to break this group up. I actually don't want them to break this group up. I said in the predictions that I think the title will be so much more interesting in Judgment Day, and I stand by that.
Yep. But
this was so good, and actually Rollins winning was awesome.
Yeah, like I said, I think that the more interesting avenue could have been to have Balor win, whether that results in a Priest cash in or not, whatever. Having that sort of dynamic play out, I think would have been more interesting. But this was so great that I can't knock it. That's a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I wonder if the interesting part here is that like my interest in this match was all Judgment Day based, and it's not Seth, because I'm still not into Seth as champ.
No, me neither.
And I'm curious to know what Seth's next direction is, because I think you don't want to do... I mean, you could do Balor again, but do it with Damian Priest as a three-way at Payback.
Yeah.
And I think there's some interesting
That'd be
possibilities
weird with the
there.
briefcase as well.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting things to have in there. But yeah, I don't think I want to do another Rollins-Balor singles match.
Yeah.
We got a triple threat match in our last match to discuss on this podcast as Asuka defended her championship against Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair in a match where Asuka was very much the third wheel.
Yeah.
Came out second, and I know a lot of people are like, why did she come out second? I'll tell you why. Because the C4 sponsorship had to be the final entrant, and you had to give that to the babyface, so you gave that to Bianca Belair. That's why she came out third.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the problem with this whole sponsorship deal thing.
And also, you can't have Asuka come out first because that spot's reserved for Charlotte Flair. So, what are you going to do, you know?
And it was... Yeah, Asuka just looked like an absolute nobody when they were making these entrances here. And like, she's so charismatic that she can overcome that because she's incredible. But man, this company just does everything they possibly can. This is another worthless Asuka title run. She's had like 8 of these things now, it feels like. And none of them have been like, apart from like when she, actually when she won the title from Becky, when Becky was pregnant, I think that was a half decent run, but during the pandemic, I suppose. But then they got better when Bayley and Banks had the belts. Yeah. So this is just another bad Asuka title run, unfortunately. So and oh man, it was just like, I know I'm a bit like overly sensitive on some of these things. I feel like sponsorship things are so cringe when you do it this badly. But it was like when Bianca Belair made her entrance and she had to like spin the can in her hand to make sure the logo was pointing out. I was like, oh, it's so gross, and it makes me feel. I feel bad for those people.
Absolutely, yeah. I did not like that at all. The story of this match was very Bianca Belair focused, and this was basically Bianca Belair being super Bianca.
Yeah,
and that was the whole story, pretty much.
Which I think is worth noting, because it really did feel like up until this point they were teasing this heel turn for Bianca. But then I was watching SmackDown on Friday in the video package. I was like, man, she does not feel like she's turning heel whatsoever. Then you watch this match and you're like, she ain't turning heel. No. Like, this was proper babyface super Bianca. And I don't think this match was very good.
No, I don't either.
Up until the injury spot, this match was not good.
Yeah.
It was typical WWE 3-way, 2 people in the ring, 1 person on the outside, and then 1 person gets back in the ring and someone goes to the outside. So there's a lot of that stuff. And again, it was slightly overly rehearsed. Charlotte Flair looks like she's putting in 0 effort.
I don't know what is going on, but like there was some really weird like missed times, miscommunications. Like they just were not on the same page for this one at all.
Her bumping is hilarious at this point.
Yeah.
You know, there's that gif that was going around of her taking the bump from Io Sky on SmackDown, where she gave the Hurricanrana, and Charlotte Flair essentially just did a forward roll in the most gentle manner possible. That was this, but for all of the match.
Yeah.
She did a spot in this match where she like did a top rope move and landed like a feather.
Yeah.
It was like a pillow had fallen off the top rope. And it was remarkable because she both landed as softly as possible, but all of her legs went across Asuka's throats in the most awkward way possible. Charlotte was actually quite bad in this match.
Huh. Curious.
And it was like this 0 effort Charlotte.
Yeah.
I actually find fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm quite obsessed with it at the moment, of this 0 effort. I'm not even trying at this point.
Yeah, there was a weird bit where Asuka tried to do like a diving DDT, where she just jumped off the turnbuckle and then kind of like, you know, when you fall backwards and do a DDT inverted that way. And yeah, like the timing wasn't there on Charlotte. When she did take the bump, she just did a forward roll. Like her head wasn't close to the mat. It was just her hands. It was just like, what's going on here?
It was so funny.
Yeah, it was strange.
However,
but then we got to the injury spot.
This match really picked up when they did this injury spot, which I really bought into for a moment. Really did fully believe that something had gone awry here. Credit to WWE. I thought they did an excellent job with this.
I didn't. I didn't buy it for a
smart boy over here.
I
thought they played it really. I give all the credit to Bianca on this. Because
Stellan was very good.
And commentary as well. I thought Corey Graves was excellent in this. But Bianca sold this so well. She got sent to the outside and her knee, and they didn't film the knee clattering with the steps. You just heard the sound of her knee in the steps, and she just screamed. And she screamed that something had gone wrong. Jessica Carr got out of the ring, the referee, and sort of had a chat with her. It felt like she was then talking into her headset. Medics ran down and they were sort of filming this off camera. And I again, the credit to this, and maybe this is just like, it's either WWE did this really well or it's the 0 effort Charlotte, but it felt like Charlotte and Asuka were not on the same page because they were making up, because they had to like try and improvise some spots.
As soon as the camera lingered on Bianca for a bit too long, and Michael Cole and Corey Graves kept talking about Bianca in the outside. I was like, this is an angle.
Yeah.
Because
maybe that's because we couldn't hear the commentary.
Yeah, because as soon as they kept talking about oh, I don't know what's going on with Bianca here, we got our emergency medical, like not talking about the match at all, just talking about what's happening with Bianca in the outside. I was like, there's no way this is not an angle.
Because it felt like Asuka and Charlotte then just did bad, we need to improvise for 5 minutes while we figure out what the new finish of this match is.
Yeah.
Wrestling. Whether that's by design or it's zero effort Charlotte, but it was awesome in a way, really, in hindsight. And Bianca was always looking back. That was when Bianca was looking back at the ring. I was like, this is an angle. Then.
Also, she can't stumble very well.
I disagree with you on that, because when she got back in the ring and she was doing the strikes with Charlotte and she was going against the ropes and fighting, I actually thought she was doing that really well.
She also changed knee that hurt.
I mean, knees are funny things.
Like I think Bianca's selling and, like, for lack of a better term, her pain sounds were very good, and it made you believe that, like, oh man, she's in a lot of pain. But when she was, like, being carried out, she was quite clearly putting all of her weight on one leg and then going, oh no, I can't do that. And it's like, okay, well, yeah.
Maybe I was just so invested in the angle itself that I didn't spot which knee it was. I just totally bought into this. I thought this was really, really great. And I said to Dan when we were watching this, like, it's going to lead to a figure eight. This is how Charlotte's going to win. It's going to be the figure eight.
Yeah.
And Charlotte locked in that figure eight. She bridged up into it, and I was like, this is it. This is the finish. Asuka gets in the ring, mists Charlotte in the face. Charlotte still remains in the figure four. Asuka goes to pin Bianca Belair while Belair is still in the figure four. Asuka then gets rolled up by Bianca while still in the figure four, and Bianca Belair pins Asuka. And I went, oh, for F's sake. For two reasons. Number one, I had Charlotte in my predictions battle with you, so I was kind of pulling for Charlotte to win.
Yeah.
Actually, three reasons. Number two, poor Asuka.
Yeah.
Number three, I really like Bianca Belair. But her Super Bianca run that she had really turned people against her. Like, I look at the live chat, I look at the comments that we get. People were so done with Super Bianca. And then Super Bianca pinning Asuka after overcoming all this adversity. I was like, oh, this is going to do her no favors.
Yeah.
I'm going to get tomorrow in the UltraChats are people ragging on Bianca. Yeah. And I don't want people ragging on Bianca because she's awesome and I really wish much better for her.
Yeah.
And it was weird because then Io Sky just came in and cashed in and won. So it's like, all right, well, why did we give the belt to Bianca then? I guess so you could give her another title run.
Sure.
Just so you
okay. I think it was justified. The injury stuff with Bianca and all that stuff. I still think you could have done the same thing, but with Asuka, whatever. You have an injured person win the belt immediately so Io Sky can come in and cash in on the injured person. I think that the setup for where we got to of Io Sky being the champion at the end of the segment was really well done, with the injury spot, the story being told, the figure eight into it to weaken her even more. Bianca still fighting and then getting taken down with like a chop block via the briefcase to her bad knee, like that. That was all really, really, really well done. And I think the narrative of that was really good. And I think if you look at this match in isolation, it tells a really good story, really compelling story of the underdog overcoming the odds.
Really good.
Problem was Bianca's done that a lot. And I think it's now starting to wear a little thin.
Yeah, I think it is wearing thin. I think the reason for Bianca winning maybe is twofold. Number one, you want to give Io a good babyface for her to feud against in her first program.
Sure.
Because you've got Bianca. You've also set up Zelina Vega because Io Sky did get pinned on SmackDown. Should have seen that she was going to cash in because she got beat on SmackDown.
Of course.
So you've already got Zelina Vega set up as your first program, but you've got another big babyface in Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
I think the bigger reason here is it's 1 year since Damage Control debuted, and they debuted against Bianca Belair.
That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't considered that.
You're telling a bit of a full circle story of 1 year later, Damage Control beat Bianca Belair to win the belt.
Also, Bianca Belair is the only out-and-out babyface in this match.
Yep.
Charlotte Flair's kind of shades of grey, and Asuka is kind of a heel. So I think Io cashing in on the babyface makes the most sense.
Exactly. I think, you can add that to a third reason within there. Boy, do I feel bad for Asuka.
Yeah.
I talk about one of the greatest talents this company has that just gets squandered and squandered and squandered, and she never complained. She never gives up. She just goes out there and always gives it 110%, is always awesome, and this company never gives back to her.
I'm just not surprised at this point. It's not that I don't care, because I do care about Asuka. It's just entirely unsurprising. I'm like, yeah, more of the same.
Yeah, I suppose in a way. I mean, it sets up an excellent SmackDown Women's Division because, like, in this segment, you had Charlotte Flair, Asuka, Bayley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair. 5. Dakota Kai then came in to celebrate with Damage Control. There's 6. And Mike Johnson reporting that Kairi Sane is coming back into WWE. There's 7. On the periphery of that, you've also got Shotzi, who is getting her big push with Bayley. And you've got Zelina Vega. Like, that's a 9-person team there, which is like only 2 of those, Zelina and Shotzi. I'm like, you probably... You know, they're sort of like on the periphery of things. 7 really strong contenders, or 6 strong contenders to going up against Io, whoever the champion is. That's great.
Yeah.
And that's something that SmackDown has been in desperate need of. So, like, overall, this gets a huge, huge thumbs up from me.
Yeah.
The match was clunky as all get out.
Yeah, it was.
But when the injury spot happened, it got dead good. The finish was awesome, and the cash-in was superb.
Yeah.
I thought all of this is a net positive thumbs up.
Yeah, I think the end result of where we got to at the end of this was great. Wasn't a huge fan of how we got there, but end result, all good.
And Kai's still injured. She's not going to be back until next year.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's someone you can have down the line. Like, we're 8 months out. You know, we're only, 4 months away from the new year. So, yeah, I think this was excellent, excellent stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the show overall, because then we had Roman Reigns and Jey Uso in the main events.
Yeah.
Overall, Pete, what did you make of this show?
I thought it was fine. I think a lot of the wrestling was very good, aside from the MMA rules and the women's triple threat. And it was an enjoyable show, but Triple H has set such a precedent of his PLEs this year in particular. He's been on such a good run of excellent shows that this feels so much worse by comparison. Yeah. Like, I've seen people being like, oh my god, worst Triple H era pay-per-view, like, this is terrible. It's not terrible. It's a fine show. It's just not excellent, and that's what we've come to expect.
Yeah, it's actually a testament to how good the Triple H era has been for pay-per-views, because this is the worst pay-per-view of the Triple H era, but it's not a bad show. Just by being at the bottom, it is, like, by its very definition, the worst of them.
I think what are the ones we had? So we had SummerSlam last year, which was
better than this.
Good. Then we had Clash, which was awesome. Survivor Series was great. Survivor Series was...
Maybe Extreme Rules, you can maybe make an argument for.
Extreme Rules was okay.
Yeah.
And
had the Fiend debut, or the Bray Wyatt return.
Survivor Series was...
Had the big Survivor Series match on there.
It had the War Games match, and that was great. What else was on that show?
Ronda and Liv, which is not great. But, like, I think that this did not have the big standout thing that other Triple H pay-per-views have had.
Yeah.
So... It is, like, down at the bottom of them, but still, like, a good show. I think that's nothing but a good thing.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, and I think that's fair.
It's probably a low 3 out of 5, but it's a 3 out of 5.
Still, it's a good show.
And whereas all of the other Triple H PLs are probably like a 4 or a 5. Like,
because he probably won't now, but I've been very curious for Ollie to have watched this show. Because the one thing that he's really enjoyed about Triple H shows is their brevity.
Yeah.
He's enjoyed the fact that there are only 6 or 7 matches on the card. And they're like 3 hours 20.
Yeah.
This was like a 4-hour 20 show.
4 hour 15 minutes, I believe, is how long it went.
Yeah. I'd be so curious to how he would have reacted to this, because he's not, like, if it's over 4 hours, it's too long.
Yep.
How he would have reacted to it.
I do think this show was too long.
No, I mean, Triple H joked about that in the press conference afterwards, that this show was too long.
Yeah.
And it was when someone was asking about matches being cut, and he was like, no matches got cut. BS, they did. But it was like, I thought the show was too long. And I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, I thought this was a good show. I'm gonna do the poll. So if you can take us through some UltraChats.
Let's. We're gonna go back to the Bloodline because people have got thoughts.
Well, I'll spoilers, everyone. We've got like quite a few more Bloodline chats, and then there are 3 other comments that are not Bloodline related. So
makes sense.
That makes sense.
Matt says, these are out of order again. Hold on. Here we go. He saw the audience fall in love with his brother and forget about him. I don't know if this is the first one. I'm gonna try my best here. He saw the audience fall in love with his brother and forget about him. It bothers him that Jay was getting these big matches over him. When you really think about it, Jimmy hasn't really ever been a main character in the story, and I do find it believable that the insecurity of being overshadowed by his younger brother and being forgotten about is enough to make him stab Jay in the back. Then there's the sympathy that Jay gets from this storyline. Jey Uso is one of the most tragic characters ever, and it's why the audience... Neither of these work now.
Oh dear.
It's why the audience turned on Roman and left the group. That doesn't work. Top heel with Jimmy Uso. Also doesn't work.
I'll tell you what. Can we have our moderator here? Can we have Rob just have a quick check on this and actually put them in order for us? We'll move on to some other ones. We'll get Rob to put those in,
we'll come back to
we'll get those in order. We'll get Rob to put them in order for us.
Cool. Spencer Trainer said, I agree that it's been too long. They should have just let Sammy or Cody have their moments. I'm sick of the bloodline. Why did Jimmy turn? The point of no return happened. They super kicked and pinned Roman. Come on. Excuse me. Ryan V said, this saga is overrated. They haven't gotten people over other than Jay and Sammy. Not effective long-term booking, in my opinion.
Also Solo.
Solo, I'd also argue, well, if you want to talk about Drew, I don't know, because Drew is already kind of there. Or say they got over KO more than he was before. I think it's been good for some people. And Cody. Samuel said, hey, Luke, did you forget what you told that Roman's going to lose the title at Payback at 3 years anniversary?
I never said that was going to happen. I said that could happen.
Yeah. WWE, after every long reign, they won't pin the champion. They do a triple threat and pin the third guy. At Payback, it's Jay versus Jimmy versus Roman.
Yeah, I never said he was going to lose the title. I said, yeah I think it's interesting that it's Payback. Do the title switch there.
Yeah. I think if Roman loses the belt in a triple threat,
and he's not pinned,
that will be one of the most anticlimactic endings to Roman's reign that you could possibly make.
Jay just pins Jimmy and wins the title. That would be
I hate that so
rubbish.
Jordan Amos said, can Uso versus Uso work? Sure, but it's not needed right now. Post-Mania, Bloodline could have happened without the title. 3 hot baby faces have now been passed over. Bloodline peaked with Sammy. I do like that Jimmy is the reason for Jay's 3 title losses.
That's interesting. I did see a tweet earlier that made me laugh, and it was a big picture of Sami Zayn being like, this guy convinced everyone that the Bloodline story is good.
It was good. Is good, I should say. Danny G said, I was okay with the Jay finish. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and see what happens. Not giving Finn the belt really did annoy me quite a lot, though. He's deserved so much better over the years, and, hope I'm wrong, but this feels like his last shot. I still hope that he's still got time. Here we go. Okay.
Okay, so this is Matt's chat
here we go.
together. A lot of people say that Jimmy stood up to Roman for Jay, but when you think about it, he didn't stand up. He didn't. He stood up to Roman only when Roman started to give him the same physical and verbal abuse that Jay got. I know with some of these we've read out earlier.
Yeah.
Matt said that Robert said we need to kind of give these for context. Yeah. Prior to that, for 3 years, Jay got the type of abuse, and the only person who stood up for him during that period of time was Sami Zayn. When you think about it logically, it was only after the Usos lost the titles at Mania when Jimmy started to get the same type of abuse from Roman, and it's only when he turned on Roman and left the group. The turn to me works because of how invested the audience is in Jay when Jimmy turned on him, and the entire world chanted "F you, Jimmy." In doing so, not only do you now have a top babyface with Jay, but you've now created a top heel with Jimmy. I think this feud and storyline can work with Jimmy being jealous of Jay and being a delusional heel that believes he's right. He saw himself just becoming the other Usos while Jay was seen as the right-hand man in the main event. He saw the audience fall in love with his brother and forget about him. Bothers him that Jay was getting these big matches over him, and you really think about it, Jimmy hasn't been a main event character in the story, and I do believe that the insecurity of being overshadowed by his younger brother and being forgotten about is enough to make him stab Jay in the back. Then there's the sympathy Jay gets from the storyline. Jey Uso was the most tragic character ever, and it's why the audience, I'm going to assume, ends with cares.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made that you could probably make a story out of that. I just don't think that they've told that story yet. And maybe they will. Maybe they can try and retroactively fit that in. But this wasn't effectively foreshadowed, and I just don't think that Jimmy growing jealous of Jay getting matches while Jimmy's out and injured is a thing that he should be annoyed about. I don't know. That doesn't quite work for me.
Joe Nero West here said, Asuka is the champ, but her entrance was second of 3. She's been a background character of Bianca and Flair. The ending of that match was so dumb. Why make Bianca champ for 2 minutes? Why not just give us what we want with Io and Asuka? Tired of the Asuka disrespect. Garmin Rome. I would have had Bianca, Cena, pin Charlotte to protect Asuka, so they just had the Io cash in. For me, the triple threat was a bit of sloppy in places. With rumors of Kairi coming back, Kabuki Warriors versus Damage Control, anyone? Dan's tarnished the championship with that picture.
Sure has. Needs a deep clean.
Yeah, if you want to go and check out Dan Layton's Twitter, you're going to see a lot of him. Ark Latori said, I hate the tease of Judgment Day breaking up. It feels like WWE just want all of its factions to be the Bloodline drama, and while that's fine, the Bloodline had 3 years together. Awesome match, but hate Finn losing and hate JD breaking up. Love you guys. Jam that jam.
That's fair.
I also think that's fair, but if only because you're teasing breakups in Judgment Day, you're teasing breakups in Imperium, and you've been teasing breakups in Damage Control. Like, maybe it's just nice to have a faction that gets on. Maybe we got that in the Alpha Academy.
Sure.
Jaded Entity. If they had done this right, they could have set up Bianca turning heel, have her get frustrated at continually getting screwed like Bret Hart once did. Instead, it's just more of the same.
Sure.
Dylan said, I think Finn is going to challenge Rollins again with the premise of that you used the briefcase, and that's when Priest will cash in. The reason being you couldn't get it done, so I had to, and tell a good story. I was more upset with Finn not winning.
I don't really want to see another Finn rematch, TBH.
Yeah. Eric says, I had read somewhere today that Charlotte was suffering a lot of wardrobe malfunctions at SummerSlam. Could that have attributed to how she was in this match? She could have been distracted with the issues with her gear. Also feel bad for Asuka. There was a point in this match where Charlotte Flair just stopped wrestling and went to the referee to be like, can you do my bra up, please?
Yes.
And Bianca and Asuka were in the corner waiting for Charlotte to do her next spots, and they just looked like the biggest doofuses. While Charlotte literally was like, sorry, wait there a second.
Yeah.
Can you do my bra,
I mean, it's kind of unavoidable because you can't wrestle with it undone.
Well,
just in case.
Then don't have that gear.
Well, yeah, obviously. In hindsight, there's probably issues that needed fixing, but in that moment, there's not much you could do about
that. Moose, do you think that Bianca... okay, there is a way to do it at P where you don't just stop wrestling and go to the referee. There's probably a much more subtle way of hiding the fact that you've had a wardrobe malfunction, as opposed to just being like, hold on, you guys, my tits are going to fall out. Do you mind if I just go and get this sorted dead quick?
I don't know, man.
Moose, do you think that Bianca could get Cody in AEW levels of heat if this booking continues? No, because the WWE audience is very, very different.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have very much noticed coming out of the pandemic is that people really do not like negativity. There was a period of time, like, sort of in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and into the 2010s, that people liked negative YouTube videos. If you're around with negativity, people click into it because they want to hear people rag on things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we always ran negative angles things. We've always just talked about what we think is the most interesting to talk about, whether that be positive or it be negative. When we were positive, people would have a go at us for not being negative enough. But people just really sort of enjoyed that aspect of it. I think coming out of the pandemic, actually coming out of 2016, really, I think with all the sort of political divide and everything, people just want to be happy, and people just want to hear people be happy and enjoy things.
Yeah.
And I think that has translated into WWE. I think that's why Cody is getting as over as he is now, because people just like the white meat baby face that it is a clear-cut good guy. And it's why this WWE audience is always behind Bianca, because she is the clear-cut good guy. And even in this match, this crowd weren't really into that women's match. The second that Bianca got involved, crowd came alive, because she is a clear-cut babyface, and people just like that. And the WWE audience just likes that. So I don't think she'll ever get into the Cody realms. She will do with pockets of online criticism and stuff, but the general audience, nah.
You mean parts of the IWC, Luke?
Yeah, well, I mean, do you know what? I will use that term, the IWC, Pete, because we're all part of it. We're all part of the IWC here. So yes, the IWC, which people are a part of, there'll be small portions of that will rag against it, but I think the general populace, the 90%, will always be behind Bianca. Let's just see if we've had any more come through. Spencer Trainer says, poor Asuka. I hope that Kairi stays in Stardom. I still don't trust WWE, considering the quality of a lot of returning Triple H people. She's my favorite, and I've adored Kairi more now than ever.
She's great. She
is great. I know a lot of people were dead excited when the news came out yesterday in the live chats, and I felt kind of bad to be the sourpuss, to be like, I'm not into this. And the reason I'm not into this is because I've seen 20 returns over the last 8 months, and maybe 2 of them have amounted to anything. So I will wait and see. And RZHA288 says, beyond the pure nonsense that is the Jimmy turn, the whole match is also a poorly produced mess. In fact, the Roman Reigns had the same match 4 times now, and this one took 40 minutes, made the lazy finish even worse.
It was 36 minutes on the dot, this match. It's a long one.
Shout out to some new members in Ty the Chief and Spencer Trainer. And let's end the poll to see what people thought of this show. Wow, it's actually really split looking at this.
That checks out.
It checks out, yeah. Because we have got thumbs in the middle, 58%, thumbs up, 25, thumbs down, 16.
So it's like
that's a real.
It's like up there.
Yeah, it's a real. That's a
just ever so slightly above, like
ever so slightly pointing upwards. Yeah, but that is a thumbs in the middle show.
Checks out.
That does check out.
Yeah,
and you can check out this podcast tomorrow, because we'll be reviewing AEW Collision. It will be Dan and Ollie reviewing that show. So one of them is going to have to run the desk, and I fear for which person that will be.
Oh dear, didn't think about that.
Nope, we certainly didn't. And then we're back on Tuesday. Myself and Dan Layton will be reviewing Monday Night Raw. We're back on Thursday with the Dynamite review, and then it's the usual stuff as we head towards All In at the end of the month.
Crikey Moses.
And then the week after All In, just to remind everyone, is Payback, and the day after Payback is All Out.
A lot of content.
A lot of content. So please do press the subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up as well, and leave a comment down below with what you thought of this show as we get on out of here. I've been Luco in DAD. That has been Pete Quinnell, your former Jam That champion. Jam that jam.